So today's presentation is called Know Your Worth, 3 Steps to Navigating Continual Financial Elevation in the Workplace, okay? So for me, a little bit about me. Let's see if it's navigating. Is it moving on your? Oh, there we go. It was just frozen a little bit. So again, I'm Tara Jones Williamson. I am a financial success coach and a lifestyle designer. I'm also a public speaker and a motivational speaker. And that's why I'm coming to you today. I'm really here to help you identify and just kind of reignite your passion for elevating financially throughout your corporate career, right? Sometimes we get disassociated with that. And so I want to throw you back into the mindset of getting empowered around that. I'm the founder of Your Pretty Pennies. Like Amanda already told you, paid off over $60,000 in less than 2 years. Previously, before I became a full-time entrepreneur, from 2012 to 2017, I was working at Amway in the research and design company department, and currently, like I said, a financial coach and speaker. And so I just wanted to give you a little bit of background about me as a blueprint going forward when we go through the steps. So when I started in 2012 at Amway, I looked on Indeed, found this great job description and a great job offering, and I applied for it. And I was right out of college in 2012. I went to Aquinas College and with a biology degree. And the salary that they were offering was $36,000, right? And so as I got into the negotiation, we did interviews. They really liked me. They really wanted me to come in. And I said, 36,000 is a little bit low. Let's start off with 50,000, right? My first offer was 50,000. Now, keep in mind, I was just coming out of college. Now, Aquinas does have a good relationship with Amway. However, I'm coming out of college. The average woman, especially the average Black woman nonetheless, but the average woman will say $36,000, I'm entry level. I'm just getting my feet wet. Let me just accept what I can get. Let me get my foot in the door. No. As we'll start talking about in a minute, your mindset has to be that you have something to offer. You have something to bring to that company. And it will behoove you to kind of put out front what it is that you truly desire. And we're going to get into that in a bit. So I requested $50,000 as my offer. As I said, nope, I need at least 50. They countered and said 45,000. So that was in 2012. By the time I left in 2017, and the reason why I left was because I wanted to do my business full time. I realized that's really what I desire to do. My salary was around 110. I had negotiated through the years up, and my salary was at 110 that I requested. And then they renegotiated and said, okay, we'll give you 108. So when I left the company, I was at 108,000. So that was a 5-year difference, tripled my income, okay? So that's a little bit of background about me. And also I help my clients do this all the time. So how did I get to this point? And how do my clients get to this point? You have to have a CEO mindset. So one thing I always say is you are the CEO of you, Inc. Even though you are in corporate America, even though you are in the workplace, you are a business and your employer is you, okay? And so you have to go into the workforce making sure that your company, you incorporated, you're the CEO, right? This is your job, is profitable, sustainable, healthy, and fulfilled. So you have to make sure that you as an individual outside of your career is profitable, sustainable, healthy, and fulfilled, right? Give me a 1 in the chat right now if you are looking for your job to support you in a meaningful way. That's what our career should be doing. It should not be draining us. It should be supporting the holistic lifestyle that we desire, okay? Now let's go back to the word profitable for a second, because I know that's what we all here for, knowing our worth, right? Getting to a place where companies see our value. So as a CEO of You Incorporated, you have to ensure that your income is in an upward trend year after year. Now, this is important because typically life gets more expensive, right? Year after year, we start to have children. Our parents start to get older. We might have to start helping out. Can we talk about inflation of gas prices and groceries lately? I don't know about you, but my gas price, my groceries skyrocketed, my grocery bill, and so did the gas prices, right? For my car, right? Sometimes we want to upgrade our cars. We want to renovate our home. If we are growing a family, we need more space, right? And so as life gets more expensive, our income should increase to offset that expense, right? So if nothing else, identifies or resonates with you today, resonate with this, that it is your job to make sure that you stay profitable, you stay on an upward trend and financially fit each and every year, okay? So let's jump right into the 3 steps that I took, and also I take my clients through taking in order to consistently elevate in their financial life while they're in the workplace. So step 1 is negotiating your worth and your value. All right, now I'm kind of interactive. Do y'all see those buttons where you have the emojis where you can put your hands up, or you can laugh, or you can give me a heart and all those other things? Let me know by giving me a heart if you love negotiating. Let me know by giving me a thumbs down if it's like, oh, that makes me sick to my stomach. I just wish somebody could just do it for me. I don't like doing it. Let me know. I'm kind of looking. Oh, we got some negotiators in here. Okay. Somebody put the face with the tongue out, like, that was somebody's response. That was really good. I like that one as well. We have a couple thumbs down. All right. Well, today I am going to get on you a little bit about realizing that negotiation is key, and it's actually expected. Okay. There we go. I was going to say it's not moving. All right. So the first thing that you want to do in this step, now keep in mind, I know many of us are already in our careers, already have a place, not necessarily looking for a place to go. But however, as we move to this presentation, you might identify with the fact that you may be at a place where you want to renegotiate because you're feeling undervalued, underpaid in your position. And it might be time for you to move to a new company that has has more value, has a bigger salary range to offer you. And so step 1, you might find yourself in, within the next few months to a year. So keep in mind that even though you're already in a current position, this might be able to serve you in the future, okay? So I always tell my clients to research salaries in your industry and region. Stick to your region because the cost of living that's in California is different than our cost of living here in the Midwest, right? And so we don't really want to compare salaries across the region. We like to compare salaries in our region, right? And typically like I was saying, when you look on Indeed, or if you look on a website and see a job listing, there will be a number there, right? So let's say the number is $80,000. And I think on your handout, you'll see that the example I give is that there's an $80,000 offering, right? Well, actually that company has a range in which they can hire you at. That is not a solid number for the most part. And oftentimes those who are hiring you and HR is expecting a counter offer, or saying, hey, $80,000, I see that you're offering, I would like 88, or I would like 90. And they say, well, we can't do that, but we can meet at 85, right? So it is almost expected of you to come up with a counter offer to say, you know what, this is my starting salary, right? And remember, you're the CEO of You Incorporated. Negotiate for your best interest. Keep in mind, the company that you're trying to apply for already has its own CEO. It already has its own team of advisors and financial planners and financial analysts and everything else. You have to focus on you at this point, because you are the asset and you are the value add to that company, not the other way around. And so when you go into applying for a job, negotiating, and in step 3, we're going to talk about renegotiating. You have to have that mindset of, I am extremely valuable, therefore I need to act like it when I come to the table. Our male counterparts, and if there's any men watching the replay, because I didn't see any on live, hey, how y'all doing? our male counterparts have no problem with, number one, applying for that which they do not qualify and asking for more than what is being offered. Okay. And so as women, we need to do the same. 9 times out of 10 is being granted. Like I said, I coach one-on-one several women, from entrepreneurs to women in the workplace. And 9 times out of 10, they are always not necessarily granted what they asked, but something that's in the middle between what was offered and what they asked for. There was a number that they met in the middle at. And remember, this is extremely important because only you know how much it costs to run your home, to make sure your car gets new tires each and every other year, to make sure your kids are in the right school system, all these different things, right, that we have that are personal expenses that we want our careers to fund, right? And so if you're going in there with, okay, I'll just accept whatever, you're getting the short end of the stick, right? So we have to remember that we are the CEOs of ourselves, and we have to go in with our best interest, all right? And let's be clear, if a company is not okay with you countering, if a company is not okay with you asking for more than what is offered, that is a clear indication that that company culture may not be the best for you, right? I'm sorry, I am a firm believer in red flags, and I'm a firm believer of when somebody shows you who they are, believe them, right? And so I do not, if I feel any sense of whenever I was interviewing that somebody is not liking the way that I'm coming in and really advocating for myself, I would go to a different company that loves me advocating for myself, and in fact will love to advocate on my behalf as well. All right, so keep that in mind. Step 2, show and prove. This is my favorite part because in my business, my personal business, you know, where I'm a full-time entrepreneur, I create content, I do all different types of things. I am speaking, I am coaching one-on-one, and so every day looks very different. My biggest pillar and my biggest asset in my business is really providing value, leading with value. And this is going to be the part that is going to get you to step number 3, which is renegotiating for a higher pay each and every year, is you showing and proving your value. So I like to say, shine, baby, shine, right? This is a time where you have already negotiated your financial package starting off. And then now it's time to not only do what you said you're going to do, but it's time to exceed expectations, okay? Now, some of us, I know, we like to do the status quo. We like to fly under the radar. But if you want to continue to elevate in the workplace and or up the corporate ladder, you cannot do things status quo. You have to, what is that called? What is that term called? You have to make some noise, right? You have to show and prove. Okay. And so this is not the time to just do exactly what you're being told. This is the time to exceed expectations. All right. So one thing I talk about, first thing is get an internal copy of your job description. This is huge because when you first start interviewing, get your position, or even if you're a couple of years in, we can kind of get lackadaisical in what we were initially hired on for. And so get your internal job description, not your external one that was posted online, get the internal one, because guess what? Each and every year that you get an annual review, your upline is going to be looking at that, right? And so you want to make sure you cross your T's and dot your I's, and no one can say that you weren't doing your job throughout that year, okay? But also I want you to start thinking about what can you do to go to the next level, right? So if you are entry level, what is the next step in your career? What is the next logical step in your career? What is the name of that job description? What is the name of that job title? And what is that job description? Start to not only do your job, but start to bleed into what is next, to where you are showing and proving to your upline, to those around you, to the decision makers in your company, that you are motivated to continuously elevate and get a promotion each and every year, or each and every 2 years, depending on your industry, and that you are worth it, okay? One thing Amanda and Liz and I were talking about when we were doing the run through is how sometimes people will get discouraged because they'll say, well, I'm volunteering and I don't have enough time and I'm not getting paid to do all these extra things. What should I do? You should, number one, learn how to be more productive, learn great time management skills, but also look at it as a seed, as planting a seed, right? When farmers plant a seed, they plant a seed in the spring, they water it, they nurture it, and eventually there's a harvest. That is how you have to look at playing the game of climbing the corporate ladder. There's no other way unless you know somebody that's a family member or there's some nepotism involved. But honestly speaking, especially when it comes to us women, we almost have to show and prove twice as hard in order to move one step compared to our male counterparts. No shade nor tea to the male counterparts. That's just, how it is sometimes. But, just be really, really intentional about making sure you added value above and beyond what you were called to do. And I'm sure there's going to be some questions about that at the end, and we can kind of talk about that on a case-by-case basis, but that should be the mindset, okay? And then also document. Documentation is key. As you are doing this from this moment on, document your increased value add that you are giving to the company. For some of us, we can say, hey, this is how much I contributed to the bottom line. But for some of us, it might not look like that. For some of us, it's major projects completed, accomplishments, increased profits, increased dollar raise, increased grants into the company, whatever that looks like. Document everything, because in step 3, we're going to go back in and we're going to ask for more money. Okay. And remember, you are the CEO of You Incorporated. You are not the CEO of the company you work for. They have somebody on their team that looks out for the best interest of their company. And so you have to look out for the best interest of your company while being a value to the company that you work for. Does that make sense? Give me a heart if you're picking up what I'm putting down. Give me a heart if you're picking up what I'm putting down. Okay, I see some hearts. I see some hearts. I see some hearts. And feel free to throw any questions in the chat, because we have a nice amount of Q&A after to talk about anything that you want to talk about, okay? And so now we've already went through the fact that you're asking for money. We're going to get comfortable with that. We're going to turn that emoji face into a heart emoji, right? We are going to step into that role of You Incorporated as CEO, and we are going to start advocating for ourselves. That's step number 1. Step number 2, we are going to shine. We are going to exceed expectations, okay? We are going to show your upline or those you work with or for that, you know what, if you don't pay me and you allow me to go allow me to go somewhere else, you're going to literally get a direct hit to your bottom line, right? That's how much value we need to be adding to those we are working for, okay? All right, here we go. And next is step 3A, because there's 2 parts to this. Step 3A is present and renegotiate your value. All right. So this brings us to step number 3. Now, remember, CEO of You Incorporated, this will require a salary increase. Because again, throughout this time, whether a year has passed or 2 years have passed, and typically in our annual reviews, we might get $1 here or $2 there. But every so often, you need to create a plan to where you ask for a little bit more of a significant promotion and job or salary increase, okay? And why is that? Going back to step 1, your life gets more expensive, right? You get closer to retirement. There's more money you want to put in retirement, right? There's vacations that you want to take. If you don't have children, you'll be having children at this point, or possibly having children. You might even start getting grandchildren, depending on where you are in life, right? So as your life progresses, things start adding on, and so should your income. And not only that, you've become more valuable to the company because you have more experience, you have more wisdom, you have more insight that can directly affect and profit the company that you're working for. And so shouldn't you not be compensated as for such, right? So decide on how often you want to negotiate your salary, right? And identify the best time of year it is to renegotiate. For some of us, that might be during the annual review, which is at the end of the year. For some of us, that might be in the spring, right after everything has been allocated and they already did their quarterly whatever and did their financials. And then you can kind of pitch to your upline and say, hey, I'm looking for a promotion. I'm looking for a salary upgrade. Can we start talking about this? Can we start having that conversation? That is when you're going to present your documentation and show whether you're keeping it in a, on a PDF format, whether you are making it into a pie chart, whether you are keeping it in a spreadsheet, whatever that looks like for you and your company. I want you to show out, shine, baby, shine. Present your documentation showing how you have exceeded the expectations of your role. Print out and show them and say, here's my job description. However, here's what I've been doing above and beyond that. And here's why I qualify for this position internally, to where you don't even need to look externally for somebody, because I've already been doing a lot of these roles on my own, taking initiative on behalf of the company. It will behoove you not only to put me in this position, and then you renegotiate a salary for that position, right? Your new salary request should take into account your experience plus personal experiences. We talked about that. Your personal expenses, we just talked about that. As you get more experience, you become more expensive. Your time becomes more valuable. You become more of a value add to your company, and you should be compensated as such, okay? Now let's talk about step 3B, because in a perfect world, we'll go from renegotiating to shining to renegotiating to doing it all over again. There might be some of us who have to reassess where we're most valued and most profitable at. So inside our company, who values us the most? And also as the CEO, if you incorporate it, where are you most profitable at? Who's willing to offer you more money for your time and expertise? Let's jump into that. If renegotiation does not result in an increase in income, you have two choices. You can stay, grin and bear it, or you can leave. And I don't know about you, but I am extremely passionate about individuals stepping into their personal power and being confident in the fact that if I'm not valued here, I will be valued somewhere else. Gone are the days where you have to feel like, I'll just grin and bear it. I won't be able to find another job. Nobody's hiring. The market is saturated, whatever you're telling yourself, right? There's a quote that says, whether you believe you can or believe you can't, you are right. I can't remember who said that, but it's a pretty popular quote. And I'm sure some of you probably said it in your mind as I said it. And that's the mindset you have to have here. You have to put on your big boy, your big girl pants and say, you know what? If I'm going into renegotiations with a company that I've been working hard, exceeding expectations for, and they still do not want to compensate me, and not to mention I'm feeling like passive aggressive results from it, I'm getting issues, I'm getting, whatever the case, if there's some type of backlash, ask yourself, do you really want to be a part of that company? Do you really want to be a value add to a company that does not appreciate you when there are thousands of companies that will? There are thousands of departments that has an upline that's supportive and nurturing and growth minded, right? Do you really want to be there, right? So repeat the negotiation process. Start from step number 1 with a new higher salary range and better culture at a different company. Right? But you can't go into this with the mindset of there's nobody out there, there's nobody else hiring. What if, right? There's another quote that says, oh, it says like, if you're trying to fly, like if I fly, what if I fall? But what if you soar, right? Let's focus on what will happen if you soar versus what if you fall or what if you fail. I mean, if you start getting into the market for applying for a new position, the worst thing that can happen is you can stay where you are. The best thing that can happen is you'll be at a new company with a higher salary range and a better company culture, right? So that's the way, you should look at it and go into these things, okay? And again, financial elevation, lifestyle elevation is your responsibility. Do not expect your upline, do not expect the CEO of the company you work for to be mindful and be adamant about you doing what's best for you. That is your job. Their job is to work on behalf of the company. Your job is to work on behalf of your company. And guess what? The more fulfilled, happy, profitable, healthy that you are as an individual, the better you are to the company, right? So this is not a, a selfish thing. This is a as above, so below. This is from the top down. If you are not healthy, you can't be healthy to anybody else, right? If you are struggling financially in your personal life, that will spill over to the stress and the performance of what you're doing in in your business or in the workplace, okay? And so lastly, let's talk about what higher level execs, VPs, those of you who are like, you know what? I'm like, as you think about step 3B and renegotiating or going to a different company, and you're like, the salary range, I'm kind of at the top of it. And there's kind of nowhere to go because I'm not interested in anything else. I really like DEI. I really like this department over here. My best advice for you is to consider consulting. So when you feel like you're at the top of your game, you're at your peak, you've reached the pinnacle of where you want to go in a corporate setting, your next step is which should be everybody's goal here, is to get to a point to where you don't just receive income from one company, you actually extract yourself and your wisdom, your knowledge, your experiences, create an LLC, and you become an actual business where you consult to multiple different companies and help the executives, the employees, or whoever you'll be targeting to get the results in those businesses that you got for the company that you work for. That is how you increase your income year after year. Even when you reach the pinnacle in your corporate career, the next thing to do is consulting. And we all know, in those corporate settings where they will have consultants come in and teach on something, that is exactly what they've done. They've reached the pinnacle, they've reached their salary cap at one company, and they say, you know what? I'll just basically do this on my own to where I work with several different companies, increase my income even more, increase my salary flow, my income even more, and then I can add value to several different companies. Does that make sense? Give me a heart if that makes sense. All right, come on, Zoom. There we go. And always remember, as we wrap up and get into Q&A, you have not because you ask not. The squeaky oil gets the wheel, okay? And honest, before, when I think about that, sometimes when I think about that quote, I think of my son, who's like the one that complains a lot. He's the one that's always into something compared to the girls. And so he's the squeaky oil that gets, the squeaky oil, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. Oh, I wrote that wrong. He's the one that always gets the oil because he's always into something. We're always calling his name. He's always in the forefront of our mind because we're like, what is he doing? What is he doing? But the same can be in a positive light and in a positive way in your corporate career is always try to be top of mind and always be extremely transparent with your upline that you're trying to progress, that you came into this company to progress, to make money, and to be a great asset to the company. Do not be ashamed of that. Do not shy away from that. Be very vocal about that, because when people are in meetings and when your upline are in meetings or when they're talking about promotions or putting somebody somewhere, they're going to have you top of mind. And that is the goal here. Okay. So, all right, we're going to jump into Q&A. So I'm going to stop the share and you should see me on your screen. Drop questions in the chat if you have them. And also, if you want to get on camera, I love speaking, as you know, as you can see, definitely you could turn on your mic, turn on your camera, one or the other, and ask a question, kind of talk through anything that you're kind of thinking about going through, and I will try my best to answer.
Yeah, we invite everybody to come off, mute, go on camera. We'd love to see your faces. This is the time to really interact. Especially with, our mentorship events. We really want to be a community where we bring our experience to light. We have Tara here today to provide all of her excellent guidance. But if you also have knowledge, at the place that you're in your career today, we'd love to hear what you've been doing collectively, what's been working for you as well.
So Liz put, it's an employee's market right now. And that's so true, Liz. Pay plus culture are causing a lot of reevaluations in careers. And I've seen that even with the clients that I'm coaching, like we are getting very clear and very transparent with companies and saying, hey, I do not like these practices. I do not like this culture. I'm leaving if you do not change it. And so, or going to a different department, like Liz said, if you're not ready to leave the company, but not happy with your role, look at other teams or departments for that upline you need. Exactly. You have to be the advocate for you. Nobody is going to do this for you. Fortunately and unfortunately, nobody's going to do this for you. So you have to remain in the driver's seat. So it says, how soon after a big raise promotion is appropriate to renegotiate again? So that's a good question. And that varies based on industry. So when I worked at a major manufacturing company, major salary increases and things like that happen every 1 to 2 years, depending on your department. I was in research and design, so it was like every 2 years, but we brought in a lot of income for the company. We had a lot of leeway, and I knew this information, but I really shouldn't. I was just really, really close with my upline, so they kind of told me some things that I wasn't supposed to, but they have a lot of funding and a lot of funds in order to hire. And so instead of hiring, what they did was they consolidated 2 roles for mine into one and then paid me the excess as I negotiated, since I was already doing the work, right? And so I would say the best thing to do is kind of pay attention. Ask your upline. That is a question that you should be able to get an answer to. You can ask your upline, you can ask HR to ask a question, maybe even do a quick Google search for your industry. And also just think about how soon do you want a promotion, okay? You don't always have to go based on industry standard necessarily, because the industry standard might be a little bit longer than what you would want, okay? So always keep that in mind.
We've got Chantel that said, should you ask for a raise in written format? What would be your advice there, Tara?
Yes, I will ask for a raise in written formats and then give it to my upline. So I will ask for a raise in written format. However, do not give it until you request a meeting. Go to the meeting with your upline, give them the written format, and also present why. So that should be a package deal, right? This should not be over lunch. This should not be an email. This should be a very formal meeting saying, hey, can I have 30 minutes of your time? Can I get on your calendar? This is an important conversation. That's exactly what I did. And I brought it, printed out everything, had my little slideshow together showing all the things that I did, to where she was like, okay, I'll take it back to those that I need to talk to, and then we'll come up with the answer and probably pull you in another meeting. And that's what happened. We had to pull in another meeting, kind of talk about it again, and then it was solidified. Life flexibility, feeling supported, believing in the company's mission are all increasingly important in today's environment. They should also be considered in addition to salary. Yes, exactly. That's what I talked about in the thing. That culture, if you feel like, again, you have intuition, we all do. If you are feeling like red flags are popping up, it is not worth it. There's no amount of money that is worth you feeling miserable day in and day out at a company that does not value you.
Yeah, you should be energized, right, when you go to work and feel empowered about the work that you're doing, for sure. We have a question about, can you please talk through how you paid off $60K in 2 years? What steps did you take, Tara?
Yep. So can you please talk about how you paid off $60,000 less than 2 years? What steps did you take? Okay, so that is the step that I took in the step-by-step process that I used to create the Financial Reset Online Academy on my website. And so what I did was I sat down, and this is the time when I was a single mother because I graduated in 2012. And so during that time when I was at Amway, that's when I paid off over $60,000. So the first thing I did was identify my income and increase my income. So in order for me to actually be able to pay my bills, plus pay off anything else, financial goals or anything like that, right? So basically what I did was I sat down, created a budget, seen how much income that I needed to have come in. That's where I got that number 50 from, because I was like, okay, if I want to start paying off certain amounts of dollars per month towards my student loans, I need to pay my rent, which was $750 at the time. I need to pay for daycare. I have a car note, you know, all these different things, right? I created a budget. Then I saved $2,000 in a savings account as a starter emergency fund. Then I went ahead and got the job, and any extra income threw it straight at my student loans, any extra income. And then what I did was with the student loans and then with the car, I paid off the car next. And then the last was a couple of credit card bills. With the credit card bills, even though they weren't in collections, I was able to settle a little bit, kind of like settle a little bit where I offered them less than what they were asking for. So that expedited it as well. All right, does that answer your question? It says, great point, Emily. It's the whole package of value that you have to consider on the worth equation. So good. Yes. WFH, working from home or return to work, is causing a lot of people to reevaluate their roles as well. Great guidance. So critical to value what you bring into the organization, to advocate for yourself. If your contributions aren't valued, it's time to take a chance internally into another area or find a new company who will. Yes. Every year, salary increases take place, and if we do not chance to indicate how much we expect, we are just told what the increases are. And again, that is because there's a CEO, there's a financial analyst, there are financial planners on the company you work for behalf to say, offer them this, just so we can keep the company more profitable. So if you don't throw your skin in the game and say, hey, oh no, that's not going to work for me, for the CEO of you Incorporated, they'll just throw any number at you and hope that you accept it. What guide do you give for outlining your contributions if they're not direct monetary value to it? So that's a good question. Let me give an example of what I did. So when I worked at Amway, my major job description was to field complaints, respond to it, and take note and like basically investigate the complaints that were coming in from consumers. So if you're not familiar, Amway creates their own products and serve their own products, right? Like the Amway artistry, things that people sell as like for part of the MLM part. But then they also use their manufacturing facility here in Ada, Michigan, to manufacture on behalf of other big names. For example, Johnson & Johnson baby lotion, Coppertone sunscreen were two of the main ones that Amway uses their manufacturing line, their facility to formulate and, you know, ship out on their behalf, okay? So whenever we get a complaint that says, hey, this baby lotion burnt my baby, or hey, this sunscreen caused cancer on my skin, or hey, you know, this sunscreen doesn't work, the product is defective, we have to go back, we have to keep some product on hand. And I had to go back and investigate to make sure if the pH was right, if the amount of additives was put in, if, you know, all these different things, right? And so that was my job. But I also seen that there was a need to be filled where somebody had to take charge of the reports that needed to be completed for the FDA. A lot of those products had active ingredients in them, right? And so when you have an active ingredient in a product, the FDA every year comes and does an inspection to say, hey, is everything within compliance, to make sure that you're not putting out a product that's causing cancer or anything else, right? And so I've seen, hey, nobody is really taking ownership of this. The reports are always messed up. FDA is always pushing back. There's no adequate system for it. There's no filing for it. Like it's just a mess. Like this area is just a mess. I'm going to take ownership of it. I cleaned up that whole thing. And within the 5 years I was there, they gave me, the reason why they gave me so much of a raise is because I was basically being the liaison between Amway and the FDA, and nobody else wanted to do it. But I really sat down with them and said, hey, what do you need? What do you want in these reports to make sure we don't keep getting all these pushbacks? And I really took ownership of it, right? Within that, I literally documented what I did in order to get to a place to where I was the liaison between me and the FDA department. Right? So if I was writing reports, if I was getting samples out of the warehouse, I don't care what it was, I'm writing it down, right? So that way, when I go to my upline, I can say in basic language, saying, these are all the things that nobody wanted to do, that every other quality engineer was ignoring. that I took it upon myself and did. And they were like, oh my goodness, you've been doing that? They knew I was doing that, but they forgot, or it didn't cross their mind when review time comes, right? So you have to be the one to say, no, let me document exactly what I was doing. For me, it was just a Word document. For some of you, if you are working with numbers that or projects completed, the amount of grants that you've acquired in the company, whatever that is, write it down, right? In the format that you see fit. All right. So it says, how do you navigate the cost of living budgets that most companies use as a guidance for raises? So you are the CEO of You Incorporated. They're always going to offer a number that is not truly adequate for a nice standard of living. And that's because the financial department, they are not culture oriented. They are not worried about individuals for the most part. Smaller companies, yes. Larger companies, no. They're worried about their bottom line. Their finance department is to worry about their bottom line, worry about numbers only, right? So they give them, hey, offer this amount for this position, offer this amount for this position, and make sure we stay profitable as a company. So you have to make sure and say, hey, I understand you're charging that much and you claim that it's the cost of living is adequate for this, but it is not. In fact, this is how much I need in order to be a comfortable employee. And then you go from there in the negotiation phase.
I know we're running over on time, so Tara is able to stay a little bit. So if you have any immediate questions, but she also gave us her email, which you should have received an email from Next Up Michigan. So you can also shoot her an email as well if you have any questions you want answered. She also offered up a 15-minute free consultation to all of our attendees. So we've also inputted that into the communication that was sent out and on that flyer that you should have received of all of the steps to take that Tara has guided us through as well today. So I just wanted to call that out as I know some folks had to leave for another meeting. So
yes, definitely contact me with all these questions. I do see a few more, so definitely email me those questions and we can kind of talk via email and even jump on a call and get those questions answered. Okay. Thank you so much for having me, Amanda and Liz. This was awesome. I would love to come back and speak to you again. And so, yeah, thank you so much for having me.